Hi everybody, my name is Aaron. I go by NintendoTwizer's Online. Today I'm going to do a game room tour. It's been about 4 years since I've done one of these, and I'm way overdue. When you last saw my collection, I had a room full of games, multiple complete Nintendo and Sega sets. In 2015, I sold that entire collection, every single game I own. Since then, I've built a new house and a new game room. This is my collection 2.0. Not as many games as the last collection, but still some solid items. Hey, look at that. I'm wearing my Nintendo socks, so that means we're ready to go. Let's take a look. I'll start by doing a quick spin of the room, and then we'll go into more detail. Let's start with PS2. So for PS2, I mainly look for games that look interesting to me, have some acclaim, are from a prolific publisher or known game series. Haunting Ground, that one's from Capcom, and that's a pretty hard one to find. On to Xbox. So for Xbox, I mainly just look for games that I can find around town, typically for under $2 or $3. But I have had some luck, a few rare games. A couple of my harder to find games are this one here, Jurassic Park, and another hard one to find is Outrun 2006. Both of those you want to keep your eye out for. Below that we have a few Xbox 360 games and some Sega CD games. Back at the top we have Sony PSP games. Next to those we have Nokia N-Gage games. Remember that system? The phone taco? PS1 is next to that. Same thing with this system. I don't pick up everything I see, just the classics or the ones that I find interesting. Below that is PS Vita and PS3. At the bottom here we have Sega 32X and Sega Saturn games. Now the small black carts on the right side are Gamecom games. Not Game.com, Gamecom. Yeah, don't ask. Next we have Sega Genesis. There's Mega Man, The Wily Wars. Now that's a reproduction of the European game. It didn't get an official release in the United States. And here are a few Sega Master System games. And at the very bottom we have a Atari Jaguar game, and it's sitting on top of a row of Atari 5200 games. Now on to Nintendo's latest system, the Nintendo Switch. As many of you know, this is a fantastic system, probably my #1 system right now, and I only have a handful of games, but I probably have roughly half dozen on back order from Limited Run. Below that is Game Boy. These stands, by the way, are really cool. They're made by a company called Rose Colored Gaming. They make all sorts of neat stands for different games and controllers and handhelds. If you recall my old Game Boy cart setup, I'm doing something similar here with the tab system. Now this makes finding games so much easier since Nintendo didn't put end labels on their carts. Now we're getting into Game Boy Color. This game back here is cool. This is a homemade cart with the unreleased Resident Evil 1 game on it. It's amazing to see this game run on a Game Boy Color. It's really not half bad considering. Next is Game Boy Advance. At the bottom here we have Game Gear, Virtual Boy, and a pocket full of Neo Geo Pocket games. Back up we have Nintendo DS. Then Sega Dreamcast in PC Engine. My favorite PC Engine game is here, Dracula, Rondo of Blood, as well as a few loose TurboGrafx cue cards. Below that is Atari 2600 and Atari 7800. On to the next shelf. If you ever wanted to know what a complete Wii set looks like, here you go. Every single Wii game released, over 1,260 in total. Look at it all in all its glory. And to think not a single game is shovelware. It's truly amazing. I called GameStop and they said this collection is worth at least $57 in store credit. Good to know that I have that to fall back on. This middle row I've highlighted either some of my favorite games, some of the better games for the system, or just some rare games. Best of all, this game right here, Jerry Rice and Nuttis Dog Football. You can't go wrong with dogs playing football. GameCube is next. I really love collecting for this system. Tons of great games. You'll never guess the rarest game I have for the GameCube. Okay, it's not really a fair question because the cover looks exactly the same as the retail version. It's this one right here, Animal Crossing. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I have this game at home and it is not rare. Now this one is a different story. This is a not for resale Pioneer disc. So here's the deal with that one. Prior to the game's release, there was a contest where 125 teams of 2 people would write to Nintendo, saying why they should be given a free copy. The winners received this exact game. So that makes roughly 250 copies total, and who knows how many are still in existence. Truly a rare game. In all my time collecting, I've only seen 2 or 3 copies pop up for sale. Now onto Super Nintendo. A truly amazing system with some truly fantastic games. Below that is Nintendo 64. Man, I really need to get some custom end labels for these carts. It's really a pain to organize and find the games you want without them. At the bottom here is Wii U. Now where the Wii had a set of over 1,200 games, the Wii U set is roughly 160 titles or so. Tiny set in comparison. Above that is 3DS. And next to that is Famicom. Now let's look at NES games. So something I'm doing different this time around is trying to acquire all the manuals as well. I'd say about 80% of my NES games have the instructions included. I just stick the manual in the dust sleeve, and that works pretty well. Whoops, bad example here. Let's look at the next one. One rare game that I own is Little Samson. This was actually a local find. A guy in my small town posted an ad on Facebook, mentioned that he had a game called Samson in the lot, and I took a gamble on it and it paid off. It was a pretty lucky find. Now I'm going to back up and we'll take a look at the entertainment stand. I had this design idea for the stand in my head since 2014. I started building it in 2016 and worked on it on and off in my spare time. It works beautifully for my game systems in my CRT TV. In my opinion, CRT TV is the way to go for classic games, as they don't look quite right on modern TVs, in my opinion. Let's take a look at what systems I have hooked up. Starting here in the corner, we have the Famicom Twin. Next to that is the Atari 2600. Then it's the Beast. Look at this huge bastard. Atari 5200. Then we have the Atari 7800. I have some custom AV outs on it. And then we have the Atari Jaguar. And last but not least, the Virtual Boy. Moving up, we have the Wii. And next to that, we have the GameCube. This is actually my original GameCube. This is the one I bought back on launch day in 2001. That's the one thing I kept out of my old collection. Then the N64, Super Nintendo, the NES, and the NES Top Loader. Above that, we have the Sega systems, starting with the Sega Master System, then the Tower of Power, Sega Genesis Model 1 with Sega CD unit and Sega 32X. Below that is Sega Saturn and Sega Dreamcast. On the other side, we have the PC Engine. Now the region lock has been removed, so I'll play TurboGrafx games. Then the Xbox, and above that is the PS1 Mini and the PS2 Slim. Okay, before we look up any higher, let's look at the built-in shelves. Now this is a really cool feature of this stand. So where does a guy go to keep all his controllers? Well, this is what I do. Here we have the NES, Super Nintendo, N64, and GameCube controllers. Next to that, we have the Wii, Wii U, Switch Pro, a PC Engine, PS1, PS2, and Xbox controllers. Then we have Atari 2600, 5200, 7800, Jaguar, and Virtual Boy. Above that is more or less my random drawer. I mostly keep different system guns here. The Super Scope, Zapper, Master System gun, and PS1 gun. And on the other side, you guessed it, drum roll, we have Sega controllers. Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, Saturn, and Dreamcast. Okay, moving up top. Now I need to grab my chair for this, so I'll meet you up there. Starting with Zelda Amiibo. This is a complete Zelda Amiibo set. The Smash Bros. Zeldas are in a different area, so we'll get to those later. Next to that are some Nintendo Handhelds. We have the OG Game Boy, the Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, Pikachu Edition with the camera on the top, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy Advance SP. Okay, then we have the DS Fat up on the top there, DS Lite, DSi, DSi XL, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, and Game Boy Micro. Next is a really cool subset, the Zelda Edition Handhelds. Here's every one that's been released at the time of this recording, except for one, the 2DS Zelda one, the green and brown. Yeah, that one, it's not a great design, so that one didn't make the cut. But man, the rest of these Zelda handhelds, love the design. They really look amazing. Okay, so next to that is a few other systems. The NES Edition, Game Boy Advance SP, and the 3DS. Plus the Mario 25th Anniversary DSi XL, Blue DSi XL, and the 2DS on the back row there. Here we have the non-Nintendo handheld systems, the Island of Misfit Handhelds. Well, okay, only partially true. Starting at the top left, we have the Sega Game Gear. Below that is the Atari Lynx. Then PS Vita, PSP Go. Next to that is the PSP. Then the N-Gage and the Neo Geo Pocket. And the top right there, last but not least, is the Game.com. Sorry, Gamecom. In the next box, we have the Mario Series Amiibo. It's complete other than those wedding Mario Amiibos, which I haven't gotten around to picking up yet. Okay, above that is Animal Crossing Amiibo. It's near complete, I'm only missing one in the set. Jumping to the other side, we have the area where I keep my random Amiibos. I don't have a complete Amiibo set, I'm missing some like the Splatoon and a few others from different series. Some Amiibo that I'm looking forward to are the Shovel Knight Amiibos, the 3-pack that they announced. Man, I love that game. Next up is the Smash Bros. Amiibo set. Now this set is complete at the time of this recording. They have just announced a few new ones for Smash Bros. Ultimate, but those haven't came out yet. Once they do, I'm sure I'll pick them up. We're not done with the entertainment stand just yet. Let's take a quick look on how this mess is all hooked up. Right now I have Smash Bros. Melee for the GameCube playing. Now every system is hooked up through switch boxes and can be accessed with the click of a button. No plugging or unplugging is required. So this is the System Selector Pro. If you want to play a system, you just have to look at these labels and click on the system you want to play. On box A we have N64, GameCube, Wii, PS1, PS2, Xbox Dreamcast in box B. Box B comes over here and we have the NES Top Loader, Super Nintendo, Famicom, and PC Engine. On the top of the box we have input 2 on the TV. We have Sega Master System, Genesis, Saturn in box D. Box D has 2600, 5200, 7800 in Jaguar. So let's do a quick test. Say I want to play NES. We click box B, then we click NES 2. We turn the NES on, and let's check it out. Alright, the game is up and running. We just need our controller. Now, we don't want to mess with wires, so that's where this guy comes in. Now this is the 8-bit Do wireless controller. It comes with a Bluetooth dongle that plugs right into the NES controller port. These controllers have been a real lifesaver for the game room. Now I personally have had no issues with latency or anything like that. But yeah, man, I wish I would have had these as a kid. Let's give it a try on the Adventures of Lolo, a fantastic old-school puzzle game. This game is an all-time classic, by the way. Great puzzle solving and really great soundtrack. Now let's see it boot up Super Nintendo. Just come over here and press this button, power on the system, and just like that, it's ready to go. How about N64? F-Zero-X. Back to Smash Brothers real quick. Alright, almost done with the tour. Let's take a quick look at some of the artwork I have. My first poster here is of Super Metroid, then Legend of Zelda. Now these are pretty cool, Star Fox with realistic animals. Then we have Pac-Man in a haunted house, and Mario Kart in the style of a classic racing poster. Wait, what's that? Metroid! Whew. That was a close one. Thanks for taking a look at my game room. If you want to see more of my gaming stuff, look me up on Instagram under the name NintendoTwizer's. I post over there whenever I get the chance. Also, if you want to know what the 40 rarest Wii games are, I did a video on that last year. Check out my profile for that. Thanks again everyone, and happy gaming!